for watching my video. My name is Roel. I'm a health and nutrition coach and a diabetes practitioner based in Hale, near Manchester, and I make these videos to motivate you to be as healthy as you can be. At the end of these videos I always share a little bit about my crafting. I like knitting, I like crocheting, a little bit of drawing, and of course you can switch off if you're not interested in that. So today I want to talk about fasting, and I know it's not a new thing. In fact, it's very old, and maybe you have heard of the benefits, the health benefits of fasting, and especially when it comes to fat burning, weight loss. The idea that simply changing when you eat, you can lose weight, you can improve your insulin sensitivity, boost your energy, improve your overall health. So most people are interested in it for losing weight. So today I want to talk a little bit about that. Can it really help you to burn fat, or is it just another diet trend? I'm going to talk about how intermittent fasting works, what the science actually says about it, the most popular fasting methods, because there's more than one way in which you can do it, and who is it suitable for, and how can you safely experiment with it to see if it's something that might work for you. Now, the idea behind it, it's not, like I said, it's not a new thing. Skipping meals might sound a little bit modern, but fasting is as old as as humanity, really. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors, they often went without food for hours, even days at a time, if they couldn't find food, if it wasn't available. And our bodies are actually really well designed to cope with that. And in those days, the human body would be much more adapted to use stored fat as fuel rather than glucose, which is what happens most of the time now with a modern lifestyle. When we consume more carbohydrates, there's more glucose available. Our bodies will use that first because it's easier to access. Now, today, of course, in the modern world, we rarely experience that natural rhythm of having food available and not having food available. For most people, food is always available. We can eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks in between, which means our bodies are constantly processing food, and our bodies don't really have a reason to tap into our fat storage for energy unless we starve it, unless we go on a massive calorie deficit. Then you will lose weight, because your body will then have to use your fat for energy. So that sort of regular eating, the breakfast, lunch and dinner, that is not natural. We just made that up, and I think, if I'm right, I think it started around the Industrial Revolution, when people started working in factories, and that's when we started to have these sort of regular meal times, but it's not part of our natural rhythm. So intermittent fasting can bring back some of that natural ebb and flow, giving the body a little bit more time to rest from constant digestion, and encouraging it to switch from burning glucose to burning fat. So in that sense, it can be helpful when you're trying to burn fat. So what is it? In simple terms, intermittent fasting is an eating pattern that alternates between eating and fasting windows. So you have specific times where you eat, and then times where you don't eat. And the most common example is the 16-8 method, where you eat all your food within an 8-hour window. For example, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then you don't eat from 7 p.m. till 11 a.m. the next day. So you fast for 16 hours. And it's not really about counting calories or restricting food groups. It's about when you eat rather than what you eat. Although, having said that, obviously, you'll have more benefits to your health if you don't eat junk food in the 8 hours that you are eating. What you eat still matters, but fasting is less about dieting, it's more about timing. And before you try any fasting, it is probably, if you have any health issues in particular, it's a good idea to check with your GP if they're happy for you to experiment with that. But for most people, it shouldn't be a problem. So how does it work? When you eat frequently, your body will use the calories from the food that you eat for energy, and we get a lot of energy in the form of glucose from carbohydrates in the diet. And over the years, carbohydrate intake has increased a lot in the diet. But when you go several hours without eating, your body eventually will use up all that glucose. And then when you move your body, your muscles will use glucose. At that point, it begins to switch over from using a glucose to using your stored fat for energy instead. And this metabolic shift can really help you to burn more fat, and also to improve your insulin sensitivity. It means that your body will become better at managing your blood glucose levels, and that is great for your health and your energy levels. Fasting can also trigger a process called autophagy, can't get that word out. Basically what it is your body clearing out damaged cells, and that's really important, because if you don't clear out the damaged cells, that can actually lead to mutations and problems. So this process is where your body clears out damaged cells and regenerates new, healthier cells. It's like sort of a natural cellular cleanup, and that will support longevity. The potential benefits of intermittent fasting go way beyond fat burning, so there's loads of added benefits, and research has suggested that it can support your metabolic health by lowering your blood glucose levels and reducing your risk of type 2 diabetes. It can also improve your brain health and focus by stimulating growth factors that protect your nerve cells. It can also encourage cellular repair and may even slow some signs of aging. So if you think that that's important, then fasting can help with that. It can also reduce inflammation, and that's a big one, because inflammation is the cause of so many health problems. It will support a better heart and better gut health. Now, of course, the results will vary from person to person. It also depends on, what your starting point is. But even modest fasting routines can help stabilize energy and appetite, especially if you tend to snack often. Now, this process of autophagy is, I think, only starts to really work properly if you fast for at least 14 hours. So, of course, when you start, you can start with shorter periods, ease yourself in, maybe start with 12 hours, and you already get some benefits from that as well. Several ways then to structure that fasting, and the best way depends really on your lifestyle, what suits you the best. 16-8 method, like I said, is the most popular. Fast for 16 hours and eat within that 8-hour window. You can do eating between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. That's quite a popular one, because soon after 7 a.m. you'll be asleep, so there's already hopefully 7 to 8 hours that you're asleep and not eating anyway. And it's actually not as difficult as you think it is, because if you have your main meal, evening meal, by 6 p.m, then you can start having your breakfast the next day again at 10 a.m. So I don't think that's too challenging. If you're new to fasting, like I said, maybe start smaller, 12 hours not eating, or 14 hours. Then you can ease yourself in, easier to sustain, and it will still give your body a good time to rest and repair. Now, there are also more advanced methods. You may have heard of the 5-2 plan. Dr. Michael Mosley has, with other people, written a book about that, where you eat normally 5 days a week, and then you have 2 low-calorie days. So that's a different kind of fasting. It's more calorie restriction on 2 days of the week. There's also alternate day fasting, where you eat normally one day and fast the next day, so not fast the whole next day, but a period of time. Then there's also the OMAD way of doing it. OMAD stands for 1 meal a day, and there's another one called Warrior Method, and both of those involve very long fasts and short eating windows, so even shorter than the 16-hour, 8-hour eating window. But they're quite extreme and they may not be suitable for everyone. Now, you could also not eat for 24 hours, 1 day a week, 1 day a month. So there's loads of different ways of doing it. Like I said earlier, the most important thing is that you find a way that suits you. And maybe you have to build up to it. Now, even though fasting focuses on timing, of course what you eat still matters. It's not like you can eat whatever you like and still expect a really good outcome for your health. When you do eat, of course, choose whole nutrient-dense foods that keep your blood sugar stable anyway, and your energy levels. Make sure you get enough protein from either fish or eggs or poultry or nuts or seeds or pulses. Healthy fats from extra virgin olive oil, avocados, nuts, oily fish, and plenty of fibre from vegetables and some fruit. Try to avoid these refined carbohydrates and sugary snacks, processed food that cause more inflammation. All the usual advice around the diet. Well, my usual advice. And hydration is really important as well, super important. Water is your best friend while fasting. Herbal teas, black coffee, sparkling water. You can have those when you're fasting, but of course steer clear of any drinks with calories or sweetness when you're doing a fast. You can exercise while fasting, but you need to listen to your body. If it feels okay, then it is okay, and if it doesn't, then you need to tone it down a little bit. Maybe at the times that you are fasting, you're better off doing some more gentle movement, like walking, stretching, yoga. These type of exercises tend to work really well on an empty stomach, but a lot of people don't have any problems doing other types of exercise. I have no problem doing a run or spinning on an after fasting for 16 hours, but it depends on how you feel. So as always, the crucial thing is that you listen to your body, and you'll find that the more fat adapted your body becomes, that means the better it is at using your fat storage as a source of energy, the easier you'll find it. Maybe when you first start, you struggle a little bit, but then as you progress, you're going to find it easier and easier. And I actually prefer exercise on an empty stomach. So hydration is important, and do stop if you feel lightheaded, of course, or weak or too tired. Now, it isn't for everybody. Intermittent fasting is generally not really recommended for pregnant women, for people with type 1 diabetes, anyone with a history of eating disorders, or people who struggle with anxiety or depression. So yeah, bear that in mind. If that's you, then it may not be for you. It can also affect women differently, especially during perimenopause and menopause, and hormones can become more sensitive to fasting. So maybe experiment first with shorter fasting windows, and especially important then, of course, also to just stick with healthy food when you are eating. Always start gently, and don't go in straight away with excessive and really long fasts. Monitor how you feel, and if you have concerns, obviously stop and speak with a professional, a medical professional, to check if you're okay to do it. Now, I mentioned the reduced risk of type 2 diabetes, and that's because intermittent fasting may help by improving that insulin sensitivity, and and that helps, of course, with blood glucose management, but also with weight loss, because if your blood glucose levels are better managed, then you don't have too much excess glucose that will be stored as fat. But of course, fasting can cause big changes to your blood glucose levels. So if you have diabetes already, or you take medication, then it is really good to fast under medical supervision if you're planning on doing it. And please do remember that I am not a medical professional, I'm a health coach, and so yeah, do always take my videos as a starting point to think about how you want to approach your health, but when it comes to medical advice, go and see a professional for that. A few common pitfalls when you try intermittent fasting, and that can make it less effective. Now, if you are overeating or binge eating during your eating windows, then obviously the fast can become less effective. So that's why it is important to eat real food when you are eating, and make sure that you get plenty of protein, because that will and fiber, because that will help you not to overeat. Yeah, if you start to eat a lot of processed food, sugary food, that causes blood glucose spikes when you are eating, then that will also make the fast less effective. Not staying hydrated, I mentioned that already, that will also affect the outcome. And going too extreme too soon can also not give you the results that you're after. So start small, plan your meals so you can have good real food, and aim for that balanced nutrition. That's how fasting can become a sustainable long-term tool for your health. So going back to the fat burning then, fasting can really help with fat burning when done correctly, safely, and of course combined with nourishing food when you are eating, and plenty of movement, good sleep, all the usual things that you need to burn fat and generally be healthy. Then definitely it can add to the weight loss. It's not a magic solution, but it is. I'm just getting a message on my phone. I hope it's all still working. But it can really help your body to work more efficiently. Just plug in some juice. Hold the line. I should check that before I start filming. But hey ho, I'm not a professional video person. So if you'd like to learn how to balance your metabolism naturally and to get a little bit more structure and support, then of course feel free to check out my services. And I hope you found this information useful, something to think about, maybe something that you can try out. And I think this is typically something that I think is interesting when you're plateauing, when you've tried a diet and other things, and you got some results, but now you're not getting any more results and you're wondering what to do. Then I think experimenting with intermittent fasting can be interesting, and it can give you some new results. And I think generally just trying something different when you're a little bit stuck with results is a good idea. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, if you found this video interesting or helpful, then give me a thumbs up, or the new hype. I haven't really looked into what that means, but I think it's a good thing. And maybe even subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm really grateful for those of you who've already done that. And don't forget to set yourself one little action for this week, something that can make you happier or healthier, and focus on that one thing this week, and next week review it and maybe keep on doing it, and it can become one of your new great habits, or think of something different to do. And if you do that every week, then slowly but gradually you're going to get more healthy and happy. If you're interested in crafting, then hang around. If you're not, then thank you for watching, and hopefully see you next week. Right, crafting then. So if you watched my video from last week, you will have seen that I made a little shawl, a 1 skein, 100-gram fingering weight skein little shawl, and that was from a pattern from Loop Knitting in London website, and it was a free pattern and it was called Tiny Tassels, and the link is under my previous video if you're interested. And when I put the tassels on that one, I was just really impressed with how that lifted the whole project. What was boring sounds a bit harsh. It wasn't like a boring little shawl, but it was a really nice yarn. It was sort of brown, variegated colour, but putting the tassels on in a different colour really lifted it to, I think, another level. And that made me think that I had another little shawl that I made years ago, and I can't remember which yarn I used, but I can tell it's quality yarn. Beautiful pink variegated yarn with a bit of yellow in it, and I hardly ever wear it, and I realised that it was sort of a bit boring and also because it's quite a small shawl. I know now they're very trendy, these little shawls, and little Sophie shawls and little tight neck shawls. And so I decided to put the tassels on that one, and again I think it really elevated it, and I've been wearing it a lot. And I think especially, you know, with a jeans jacket or a cardigan, I think it looks great, and I think it looks very different with, now you can't imagine it anymore without the tassels, but yeah, it was okay without the tassels, but now I think it's great, love it, and I've been wearing it several times this week. So even though I said I wasn't going to do more tassels this week because it was a bit of work, I also became quite good at it because I've done so many of them, and so this one went a little bit faster than the first one. For the tassels, I used Scheepjes yarn, and it was Scheepjes Tribe. I forgot the colour, but it's this beautiful pink, and it's a little bit fluffy. It's super. It's actually not ply. It's it looks like a sort of one ply. Nearly like the Drops Air, but in a smaller version. If you've ever seen Drops Air, it's like blown. And actually, I really love the colour on this shawl, but it wasn't so easy to make the tassels with it because it's quite slippery, and you want to pull the tassels quite tight so they don't become undone, which I could foresee happening. I hope it won't happen, but I can always do it. I've got more of that yarn, so yeah, really happy with this, and it's sort of blown new life into this little shawl. Apart from that, it doesn't look like I've done a lot more, but I have spent quite a few more hours on my Kettle Cove vest top, the colourwork vest top, my first sort of serious all over colourwork project. Really enjoying it, but also now quite keen to see the end of it. It's always like that with projects when you're knitting and you're very excited to start with, loving it, and then you just want to see the end of it because you're already thinking about the next project. And last video I did show you my next 2 projects, the halibut sweater that I want to do, and where's the other one? The Ooey Gooey, Andrea Mowry's Ooey Gooey. And I was sort of hoping that I would be a little bit further with the vest top, but it's sort of still a little bit more work than I thought it was. So I have come to the point where it's a bottom-up pattern, and I already suspected it, but I don't think I'm going to do another bottom-up pattern. I prefer to knit garments from top down. It gives you more control over the overall length, and because you can stop when you think it's long enough. If you go from the bottom up, you need to keep going till you get to the neck, and so the length is determined unless you do a provisional cast on, but I can't be bothered with that. So yes, bottom up. And then what I found in the pattern, I think it's a good pattern. I don't know, you know, how good of a judge I am of that, but I found it quite clear until it came to the making, what are they called again? Decreases. So you start with the decreases on the back. So you start knitting from the bottom up. You do the hem, and then you just start knitting the charts, and then you have to decrease, but also you have to then start working flat. So you first go round on a circular needle, but then you're going to put the front on these cords, and then you start knitting back and forth, and that was a whole new game for me, because yes, I just got used to doing the collar work in the round, and then I realised that I had to go and purl and knit and purl to get the stockinette stitch in the flat, and I had to look up how to do the collar work on the purl side. You have to read the chart differently. So if you knit in the round, the collar work, you look at the chart and you start at the bottom and you go from the right to the left, right to the left, right to the left. But if you do it on the flat and you have to purl one side, you do start at the bottom as well. You go right to the left, but then you need to go left to the right. So you follow the chart like that. And also, then you have to, of course, do collar work, purling, and I just had a sort of a really lovely way of continental knitting the collar work in the round, and then I had to find a different way. When I was purling, I couldn't do it with the two threads coming over one finger, so I did continental knitting on the left, and the other thread, the main collar, was English knitting. It works out fine, and I've got used to that now, but yeah, that was a bit of a challenge, and now I'm sort of worried that the tension is different when you work in a flat, when you're working around, but I haven't actually noticed that. It seems fairly straight. I noticed one little mistake here. When I was purling, I must have accidentally had the one of the threads on the wrong side of the work, but I think I will just embroider over that when it's all done, and also it's the back, so I won't even see it myself. Yeah, like I said, really looking forward to seeing the back of this now, and having it all done and wearing it. The only thing that I didn't like about the pattern, or I could blame myself for not reading through the whole pattern first, and I keep realising that I have to do that, but when I start a new project I forget to do that, and I just skim over it, and then I just want to start, and I start reading instructions, follow the instructions. But in this pattern, the instructions, I went through them, and then at the end, so it says follow this chart, keep going around, follow it for so and so long, and I did, and then it was added to it in the meantime. So I didn't read that before. I should have kept measuring it, because at some point when it got to a certain number of centimeters, you had to then split and start knitting in flat, and I was about 6 centimeters further than I should have been when I started to split for the sleeve holes. Oh, it's no sleeve holes, the armholes. Now I am tall, I'm 6 foot tall, so hopefully I will need that 6 centimeters. I wasn't going to go back, that's an awful job. So let's see, it looks like it's going to be the right height, because the armhole starts there, and if I then hold it down, I think I'll be happy with that. So, to be continued, hopefully not for too long, and hopefully, I'm sort of hoping that I'm done next week, but considering how much work this was, I'm not so sure. But yeah, definitely don't want to really knit from the bottom again. But having said that, I think that beautiful rustic Fair Isle fest, or tank top, whatever you call it, I bought at the Buxton wool gathering, I now fear that that's also bottom up. And yeah, so we'll see. It'll probably be a similar situation. I have seen other patterns that are top down, and then in a lot of these patterned colourwork projects, you steek for the armholes, so you just keep knitting in around and around, but you don't cut, which sounds a bit scary, but I've seen lots of other people do it, and apparently it's not as scary as it sounds. Then you cut for the armholes, so that's, I think, now sounds quite attractive to me, having done this one. So that was it really from the crafting this week. Like I said, it doesn't sound a lot, but I have actually spent quite a long time doing it. I knit most days, or crochet. Definitely there's not one day where I don't do anything. Probably, yeah, a little bit first thing in the morning, like 15 minutes when I have my first coffee before I work. And then in the evening, of course, more crafting. Do you craft? If so, what are you doing? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear. And I was going to show another thing, but I think this video is already now getting quite long, so I think I will just leave it to this. It's nothing craft related. It's a subscription box that I receive monthly with crystal related stuff in it, but I might add that on, or do it next week. What I was also going to say is that I've been really bad at keeping my crafting journal up to date, my knitting and crocheting journal, where I put my, or project book, whatever you want to call it. So to start with, and it's like that with me and diaries and books like this, I start really enthusiastically and then it just stops. And now I notice that I haven't done a lot, I haven't added a lot of projects. So yeah, you can see that, you know, I would write down the yarns that I use, what the project was called, or even stick a little bit of the yarn in and then a photo of the finished project. So you can see all the things, that socks that I've made, and it's great. You want to go back and see which size I did. That was a jumper I knitted. So I really wanted to do this, a little baby bonnet that I knitted for one of my niece's babies. I really, really want to do this, but the last project I put in there was, what was it even? The Guatemala cardigan. That was in June 2025. That was it, and I didn't even write down when I finished it. No picture, nothing. So yes, I do. I am, one of my goals this week is to start updating that, because I want to record that. It's so good to look back and see what you did, which needles you used, all that stuff. You can do it in Ravelry as well, of course, but I haven't been doing that either. Right, thank you so much for watching. I will stick on a little bit of footage of stuff I've been up to this week, which actually hasn't been that much because I've been working long hours. And but yeah, there'll be a little bit of food and a little bit of what I've been up to. And hope to see you again in my next video. Love you lots. Bye.